So, I did this thing about a year ago. Took a big trip to a place called South Africa. Naturally, can't really do something that big and epic without someone hearing about it. And, someone forcefully, politely asking me to talk about it in front of the church family. So, about a year or so ago, actually it was a few years back, it was my junior year in high school. A group known as the Oregon Adventist Men's. Change the slide, please. The Oregon Adventist Men's Chorus. They showed up at Gem State Adventist Academy. I've been singing in the choir at Gem State. Now, I didn't have any musical talent. I was just there for the musical credits. I was trying to graduate. That was all there was to it. I was not looking for any sort of adventures or any sort of crazy happenings that would come about. But clearly I couldn't avoid them. When these gentlemen showed up, they asked all of us men in the choir to sing with them. So we sat down at our first practice, and tap, 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 the conductor's ready to go, and you could have heard the pin drop. Then he moved his hands. And I'm telling you, I've never heard such passion, such power behind so many voices. I couldn't even sing myself because I was so amazed. It was truly incredible, and I had to stop. I had to think for a second, because this was something incredible that I'd never heard before. I'd never heard the music that was so beautiful, so crisp, so powerful. And these men were singing everything they had. They gave it right from the start. And I knew from that moment on, this was definitely something I wanted to be a part of. Amen. So, we ended up going on several different trips. We ended up going to Portland, Salem, Idaho, obviously, and ended up going to GC, General Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And that was a pretty big trip. That was a lot of fun, nice little flight and everything. As we've been there for about a year or so, a little more. There's rumors going around about a trip to Africa. I heard about this trip. I said, well, that's nice. Have fun, guys. I'm not going. And that was strictly because I'm a very homely person. I've never been outside of the United States, so naturally, that was not where I would belong. I sat in the back pew during the presentation, might have dozed off a little bit, wasn't really paying attention. Didn't need to. I wasn't going, right? Well, choir director came up to me and said, Dallas, I'd really like to see you go on this trip. I looked at him and I said, Lou, that's nice, but I can't go. This trip was not meant for me. This is your guys' calling. I can't do it. He said, Dallas, come on. Just pray about it, think about it. Fill out the form, that's all I'm asking. I said, Lou, I can't even stay away from my own mama's cooking for more than 24 hours. And you want me to go to South Africa for 3 weeks? He said, Dallas, just pray about it, okay? I said, okay, Lou. Alright, I'll pray about it. So I prayed, lightly, didn't really want it to happen, so. Anyways, I got a call about a week and a half later. And he said, Dallas, this is Lou. I said, hey Lou, how's it going? He's like, are you sitting down? I said, yeah, what's up, Lou? So we got your tickets to South Africa. They have your name on it. Lou, do you remember that, back there when I said no? Did you hear that? Because I swear I said it. What? No, I can't go. Said, these tickets have your name on them. They are non-refundable. Please get your passport. These guys don't really take no for an answer. So, I hung up the phone, and okay, alright, well, I guess it's not going to go anywhere. So I went through the process of getting a passport and everything, but I was still in denial for several months after that. And I was actually in denial for about 2 weeks before we took off. And it was right then that I decided I should probably start packing my bags, getting everything kind of arranged. So, anyways, we got down to the airport, and we were flying stuff on the plane. we'd been on this plane for a long time, and it was kind of starting to settle in that, okay, we're not just going somewhere in the United States. No, we're going way outside. We're leaving. This is huge. And it was taking some time to settle in. But anyways, we landed in Johannesburg, South Africa. And while we were there, it was just a typical terminal. I hadn't really set in yet. And we walked into these rooms. That was pretty nice, right? Looks pretty good. That was very nice. Beds were comfortable, bathroom, shower, everything was great. But don't be deceived. They eased us into this process. They knew this was a very, very big task. And so they kind of buttered us up because over the next few weeks they were degraded to...
You're in the army now.
Yeah, not quite 5-star, shall we say. But anyways, so don't be deceived. This was no easy trip. We were not baby-fed the entire way. Those were quite stretchy. So, anyways, our first performance came about, and we ended up performing. We ended up performing at a church that wasn't quite built yet, and so it was a tent. And on our way there, that man pointing at me, Gary Parks, a very good friend of mine, he came up to me on the bus and he said, "Dallas, I want to hear your testimony." Okay, so he said, "Dallas, I want to hear your testimony." And I looked at him and I said, "Gary, I don't have a testimony. I'm a 4th generation Adventist. That's it. There's nothing much to it." He said, "No, you gotta have something because you're going to be talking." Okay, well, so he says, "So just talk to me. Just tell me what it's like being a 4th generation Adventist." So I told him, okay, well, obviously my parents are Adventists, their parents were Adventists, parents before them, okay, yeah, and that was just the life that we had lived. That's the way it had always been. We were all Adventists. But as I was talking to him, I realized it was very difficult being a 4th generation Adventist because you had no way of doing something unique. This was no longer something radical. This was not a new idea. Everyone had seen it before. Every person in your family has done it, so what's so unique about your faith? So it's very difficult to go about this religion, this belief, and actually live it in your lives because it's something everyone has already seen. So you have to find new ways. You have to show it to your friends, your family, everyone around you. You have to literally live and breathe it. And that's not an easy task. I'm just a young man. I'm not really anything special, at least according to me. So it wasn't something that came at ease. And yet I found ways through my life to show people, and people notice it every now and again, and as I'm talking to Gary about this, he stops me and goes, "Dallas, that's your testimony." Gary, what did I say? Because I can't. I don't know what I said. What are you talking about? He says, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get up in front, and we're just going to talk, just like that. That's what we're going to do." So, "Okay, Gary, try it." Okay. So, got up front, went through the performance, did my little testimony, and we're getting back on the buses. And Gary comes rushing up to me. He says, "Dallas, you're not going to believe what just happened." I said, "What? What happened?" And he said, two people came forward and talked to our choir director and said their lives were changed because of what you said. They were giving their lives to Christ. Right then, right there.
Amen.
Before we had even arrived here, I didn't think I had a testimony, let alone something that was going to change people's lives. It didn't exist in my mind. And at that very moment, I realized this trip was going to change my life. So, our next performance was, I believe it was the next day, we went to this public cathedral, and it was downtown Johannesburg. And we're kind of, as we're driving there, I'm noticing there are a lot of people on the streets. We're kind of, squeezing these buses through the streets. We were in 3 very large buses. And as we're going through these streets, it's kind of scary because there are so many people. There's not a space that is not filled by a person. As we come into this chapel, there's a small group waiting for us there. We do our first performance. Well, second performance, but either way. As we're singing, there was a reaction that was the same throughout the entire 3 weeks of the trip. These people at first were very quiet, very reserved, and enjoying just the simple music. But then the African spirituals came. They were jumping up and down. They were screaming, "God bless, hallelujah." These people were so excited that Americans had traveled around the world and were singing their songs. They could not contain their excitement. They were just ecstatic. It was amazing, just the reactions of these people. And that was the attitude of every single performance that we came across. It was truly amazing. As we're heading out, this was the scene. A lot of people. Tons and tons of people just all over the place. And I had never seen anything like it before. And as we're walking out to the bus, there was a man in the streets kneeling. He was begging. And as we're getting on the bus, they told us from the very beginning, whatever you do not hand out money. If there's a beggar, please do not hand out money. Not because, we have our life savings back home. No. It was because the minute you do that, you create a target. And that target is yourself. And it's very hard to keep yourself from giving someone in need money when we all have the generous heart. We want to help someone. So, as I'm sitting on the bus and I'm looking at this guy, and I'm looking around, I'm seeing all the people around him, I'm realizing I'm a long ways from home. And there are a lot of people here. I mean, a bunch of guys walking around in suits. Yeah, we definitely stuck out. And that was a scary thought. That was something that I wasn't quite ready for. So, as we traveled, we went from Johannesburg to Cape Town. And on the way to Cape Town, it actually got 5 degrees below zero.
Wow.
And, see all that white stuff? Yeah, this is Africa. That's snow. It does not snow in Africa. There were people on the trip with us that were 50 years old, and they'd never seen snow their entire lives. Okay? It snowed on the way to Africa. While we're traveling and so on and so forth, we were making great friends. This group of gentlemen here, these were the young guys. Small, I know, but this was it. This was us. This is what was represented, the youth, as it were. We really bonded over the next 3 weeks. And when you are on a bus for hours and hours and hours, you kind of have time to talk about a lot. So it was a truly great experience. At every stop that we made, gas stations and restaurants and so on and so forth, we would always sing for the people that were there. And every single time we sang, I cannot count one time that we did not. Every single time we sang, someone came forward and said that their lives were blessed that night. They were having a hard time at work, their family issues, whatever it might have been, they were blessed. And we sang 2 songs. They were simple songs, nothing much to it. Once again, these people's lives were being changed. It's not something that you can easily overlook. As we were coming to our second week, we came to a place and we were performing in a concert hall. During our practice, the power went out. We had about 2 hours till the concert, and we're sitting there and we're like, okay, no, it's fine. We still got some time. So they ushered us into the cafeteria, and they said, okay, we're doing all right. We still got 2 hours. Well, 2 hours became 1 hour, 45 minutes, half an hour. Okay, it's showtime, and we have no lights. Power's out. Show's over. Someone came rushing into the cafeteria and said, "Guys, you got to get out there." What's going on? The people have come. The people are here. They want to hear you sing. The power's out. How do they even find us? No, they're here. They're waiting for you. We have to go. So we had to quickly make something up. And this is what we made. As you see, our choir director, he has 2 white gloves and 2 lights on either side of him. That was the only light in the entire room. We had no music. We had nothing. This was meant to fail. There was no reason that this should have worked. The minute he started moving his hands, everything fell into place. The music was amazing. The music was incredible. We had no orchestra. It was just our voices. It was everything that we had been trained for, everything that we had been practicing for, everything. It was perfect. And if you ask anyone that went on that trip, that performance that night was our best performance we have ever done. It's the most memorable performance we have ever had. And it was so touching. The music was beautiful. When you're alone and you're in that darkness, as you can tell, it was quite dark. Yeah, see, that's me in the shadows. Oh, that was not. But when you're alone and you're listening to the music and it's coming out of your mouth, it's humbling. And that's when you realize that you're no longer the one singing. This is the Holy Spirit. This is what's coming through you. This is so much more than just a simple song. We performed a 2-hour concert for these people in the dark. It's pitch black. We were singing with nothing but our souls. And we gave everything we could. So, about the end of the performance, the power comes back on. Right at the very end of the performance. It was a great time. So, we're, okay, well, whatever. We figured we'd still use the concert hall to do a little bit of practice. So we're all heading back to our little stage that we had back there. And we're still singing, having a good time. Not really thinking much of it. We get seated, and we turn around, and the crowd has followed us into the concert hall. They have each found their individual seats, filled the hall, and are now waiting for yet another concert. We've given them everything. We sang everything that we had. We gave it all. They wanted more. They were not going to leave until we had sang another song. So we then performed, I believe it was another hour or so of music for these people. And the way these people, the reactions, like I said, it was jumping and screaming. But when you're in a choir and you're singing and the crowd is feeding off of the music that you're giving them, you just want to sing louder. You want to sing with more passion. You want to work harder. You want to just give everything you've got at that very moment. And the crowd is doing the same. And it's an incredible feeling. One that I would not have experienced if I stayed at home. So the last Friday of the trip comes around, and we performed a communion service. And this African beside me, his name is Kibe. Over the past 3 weeks, we had been working together, so on and so forth, and we had created a very strong bond. There was something about this man. You see that smile on his face? It never left his face. He was always smiling. He always had something to be happy or excited about. He was never, ever found without that smile. And the more I got to know him, the more I got to realize that he was truly walking with God. It's something that each and every one of us, we strive for. We want that same peace. He had it. No, sorry. Yeah, he had it. And he walked with it each and every day. And during this communion, he washed my feet. And when he was getting down to wash my feet, this wasn't your typical splash a little water, wipe it off with a towel, don't touch me. That wasn't it. He scrubbed. I didn't think my feet were that dirty, but he made sure they weren't. And I started to think about it. I didn't really know this guy. I'd worked with him for 3 weeks. Yes, of course. But I don't know this guy. And yet, he is humble enough to get down on his knees and wash my feet. Unbelievable in my mind. Not something that I could ever replace. That feeling of just pure humbleness. That was what he showed me. And just with great respect was created from that. We prayed, and he was there. You could just tell that God himself was pouring from his soul. And that smile showed it all, I'm telling you. He was just truly, truly at peace. So, before he went on this trip, he told me it's going to change your life. During the trip, he told all of us, if even one soul is saved, every dime, every hour of effort, everything was all worth it. One person was saved. Several people were saved. Okay? People came forward all the time. There were so many people, I can't even count them all, that came forward and said their lives were changed. They were giving their lives to Christ. Things were happening. This was a trip that was just, it changed everyone's life. Not one person was left untouched. That's something that none of us can forget that went on that trip. This was quite meaningful. So, when you go on trips like this and you think about it, at first you're scared and everything, but as you go through the time, you realize that you're here, you've been here, you're witnessing Christ, and you're not at home. You're way out of your comfort zone. You're somewhere that you're not meant to be. And yet, you're here, and you're giving it everything you've got. You are showing them God is in your life. And we were doing it. It's a very large group, and people were so touched. People were so blessed. This trip is just something that touched my life and will continue forever. And it won't be a memory I can let go of. So, these guys take several trips, and they're such a blessed group. They've changed people's lives. They've changed my life forever. Sadly, Kibe, the man who washed my feet, he passed away about a month after we got back. That hit me very hard. You don't always think that life is that short. You don't always realize that what you're doing, time here is limited. But in the 3 weeks that I got to know him, he changed my life forever. And from that moment on, I now have a responsibility. I have been shown what it is like to change people's lives. I have been shown that by living my simple fourth generation Adventist life, I can change others. And even though, some would say that his passing was unfair and, timing was just not right. I've never met anyone that was more ready. He was at peace. He was truly at peace. He was ready to go. He was ready to let all of it go. So, that was South Africa. The trip that literally changed my life. Same gentleman, they got back together. It's been a couple months after we came back from South Africa. They started telling me about another trip. This time it's to the Ukraine. It's going to be next summer. And I have no idea whether or not I will be going on this trip. I could create a million excuses not to, but I have no idea what God has in store for me. I know this wasn't supposed to happen for me, and it did. That being said, none of this can easily happen without your support. So I want to thank every single one of you. Every time you put money in the children's offering, and you put your tithe in, all of that. Anytime you support something like this, you're changing lives. Changed my life. Personally, I can say that. This trip changed my life, and I thank you all for that very much. Very much. Your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. Please bow your head. Dear Lord, thank you for your Sabbath day. Thank you for this day of rest. Thank you that we are able to slow down our busy weeks, and we are allowed time to just be with you. I pray, Lord, that you will please give us the guidance that we need to live our lives through you. And help us to slow down and admire the things that you have in us in this life. And I thank you very much, once again, for the blessings that you have bestowed upon each and every one of us. Amen.
Mm-hmm.